another episode here, and in this episode, the couples are separated, but then the children that came from the home, the mother or the father does not allow either of the parents to have access to the children. So, I want to look at the dynamics, what could have caused that, and whether it's even good for that to happen first. And we're not giving excuses, but we're just trying to explain what could have resulted into that and what could be the impact of that on the children and on the parents themselves. So, we're going to watch this and then we can have some discussion.
And I also want to say to the parents, make preparation. I think that's the best way I can capture it. Make preparation for your child or your children to protect them from the effect of your separation. You are the one separating. They are not separating from you. They are not separating from the father. They are not separating from the mother. It's just the mother and the father that are separating. So make provision to protect them. Let them feel welcome, with the two parents, and give them the room to make decisions to say, okay, I want to be more closer to my mom. Why I still love you, dad, but I want to be more closer to my mom. And if the child said, I want to go with my dad, even if he's the one who is the abusive person, and he said, I love my dad, I want to go with my dad, the mother should not try and discourage that. And if the father is willing to accept that you have catered for the child's desire. The child feels this is where I'm going to get the love that I need, even though you are seeing this man as an abusive person, but I'm not seeing him as my hero. So let him go or let her go, because that is where he's going to get his footing, at least to a level. And if it's the mother, let him or her go to the mother. So that agreement should be between the parents,
All right, so we have heard what he said. So, what do you think?
Well, there are several points. Even from that little extract, there are several points that he alluded to. So he talked about the child not separating from their parent. It's the spouses that are separating from each other, and that is true. And access. He also talked about access, having access. Making access easy for the other spouse. So we are in Canada again, and we under the law, we have the child custody. We have so there's a child custody arrangement. We have so with the child custody, the government, the legal system can decide. Most of the time they prefer the 50-50 access to the child. So if the ex-spouses are living in the same city, they might do, okay, like 1 week here, 1 week there, they might do, most of the time it's the 1 week here, 1 week there. But, there are factors, there are various factors that they look before making that decision. They want to look at the safety of the child, which is usually the most paramount factor for them, the safety of the child. They also look at the ability of the parent to provide for the need of the child. They look at how would I say this now? They want to look at the fitness of the parent. How fit are you as a parent? So if you have a mental issue, they put that into consideration, because like I said, the overall purpose is to ensure that the child is safe. So how are you able to provide a safe haven, a safe home for the child? You're meeting the psychological needs of the child, the financial needs of the child, the emotional needs of the child, the social needs of the child. Do you as a parent have that capability? And if you are able to, if both parents are able to, and also that you are not a danger to this child. They are not, remember, from what I've just said, they are not considering the spouses. We are not talking about the spouses, it's the child. So, because, for us in Canada, like the government pays serious attention to the well-being of the vulnerable sector, which includes the children. So the children, they cannot fend for themselves. They look at this adult, how well can you fend for this child? So if there are no issues, the mother is not a threat to the child, the father is not a threat to the child, of often the judicial system prefers a 50-50 custody, so there's a balance. But in some instances, it might change, based on different factors, For example, for me, because my ex is not in the same province as myself, there's no way we could do 50-50. There's no way we could, so, the arrangement that we had was that, okay, you have access to these children Sunday evening between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. You can call the children. So my responsibility was to make sure there is a line, a phone that he can call the children to, because I said, no, you can't call the children on my phone, because I don't want to, I just really want to be, I don't want contact with him as much, so I was supposed to provide, a phone, whether it's a landline or whatever, for him to be able to call the children between the hours of 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. every Sunday evening. So they can make that arrangement. And if you had gone further, they could have said, okay, maybe in the summer months, the children go to wherever province he is and spend time with him. They go, like that's the way the judiciary system, because they place much importance on the fact that the child needs both parents. So that is access. That is, having access to your child. And it now depends on the parent, how much you want to be involved, how much you want to do you abide by, because the system is not going to force that on you. Because mine at the end of the day decided, it was not working. Sometimes the children are waiting, for him to call and he will not call. And sometimes, he calls at different times that are not, and these children are frustrated and they want to go play with their friends and, they're waiting for a call that will not come. Or, when you call, whatever you're saying on the phone does not interest the children, they lose interest. So you not build a relationship. Unfortunately, that was the way mine went. But the spouse that has full custody or we should, in an ideal situation, let the children have access. Don't deny the child access to the other spouse. Whatever is your differences, whatever the reason why you had to go your different ways, don't let that come in between their relationship with their father or with their mother.
So what I hear you say is that the spouse that has the custody of the children should give access, except in some very difficult circumstances.
Yes, and with that, I'm also saying that it is not their decision to make that. So they have to go back to the judiciary system, to the court, and say, I think I'm concerned. My child came back home and this is the way, there were marks
and let them decide.
So
that your decision might not be just like you're taking decision.
Because you will be working against the system and you can be in trouble. You can be in trouble because the child can actually be taken away from this parent that thinks they have the power.
Right.
Yeah, because what we are talking now, it concerns the children.
Yes.
And most of the time, like from my own personal experience with my kids, there was a time that my daughter, she said, when issues happen like this, like in a marriage, that most of the time both parties and the people, we concentrate on just the two parties that they are involved, and they left the children as that most of the time, even when they want to settle the issues, they don't call the children
in the picture.
At least cite their opinion.
Yes.
What do they really want from both parties? Their mom, their father. And that is exactly how our mindset affects the children when we are making decisions. Even when we are going to court, we already have the mindset that, after all, it is my own right as a woman that this child or these children, they are still within this age bracket.
Yes.
So definitely this child should be
with me.
You understand? Or the husband want to claim that, oh, you have low income, because there are a lot of other factors that the court, the judiciary needs to consider before giving the custody.
Yeah.
You understand? So, but they don't. I think I've watched a movie whereby they had to seek from that child, and that child is just like 2.5, but he can't talk, you know. So they sent in a social worker to come, and after expecting, the wife is fighting to have the custody, and the husband also is fighting to have the custody of the child, and two of them, the social worker has to be the mediator between them now to decide who should be. So they will look at the environment where you want to settle in these children. Did you have any provision for this child?
That's right.
You have to consider that. What about your income? Let's say you are going to get the support from the husband, financial support. How are you stable physically, mentally, to be able to? What about will your work interfere with the taking care of this child? Then if we're to be a man, we are talking about a child that is less than 10 years, for instance. So how will you be able to take care of this child, taking this child to school, or providing for this child at the time that you are not at home? Are you going to just hire somebody to be staying in with this child? Or you are going to just abandon this child to your parents in the village or outside your territory? Those are the factors that needs to be considered. But most of the time, we don't even sit down to be open-minded, to look at the factors that surround. If we, in case, I am talking in an ideal situation whereby the provision are there. So if in an ideal situation where the provisions are there, you have the house, you have the facilities, the resources to take care of these children, then we need to consider the mind of that child. You need to seek. I think from that perspective, that is what the guy
and I think was saying, I think, in places like this, Canada, there's something we call the voice of the child. But that is not until a certain age. I'm not sure what the age is, but I think it's, like maybe
I checked it 16,
so that's why I'm surprised. Well, I think the social worker asking maybe just to kind of feel the pulse of
because that child has to be of reasonable age that you have a voice, because many times like when we're looking at infant toddlers, you're looking at preschoolers, you're looking at kindergartners, and up onto a certain age. I don't even think, my son is 11 turning 12. I'm not sure if he's there yet, to have a voice and say, not because he cannot talk. He can talk, but they want to understand that does he have the capacity to understand in depth what he's saying? And the impact of it, because that's why we are still custodians, that's why we are still parents, and so that's why we also in a situation where both parents are biased and they are, we fight to finish. That's why the government comes in the place of a social worker, in the place of a therapist, that represent the government to say, you can judge, so there's fairness and justice here for the child, So in places like this, it is not a decision that we can make by ourselves, because we know we are under the government. The government has rules and regulations, and I based on Canada's standard, and that's what I'm familiar with, and that's what I've worked with. Having custody is not just something that my daddy and my mommy sit down and they say. No, it has to be enforced. It has to be documented. It has to be legally binding. because that is what you take to places like schools.
Mm.
That's what you take to daycare centers to say, okay, there's this going on between us. Okay, so this is it. Like custody, you have to have the custody agreement. The document, the legal document to say, so this person cannot pick this child between the hours of this and this house. So that's what I will say. Except in situation where you know that there's abuse, there's psychological abuse of these children, there is trauma. I remember way then when I was when I first left my marriage and I took the children, and after some intervention, people put them, okay, let's rebuild this and all of that stuff. I did not move back home. I did not move back to my ex. I still maintained my own house, and but I allowed the children to be going. So I drop off the children. We made an arrangement, maybe every 2 days or something like that. The children would go, but my children, especially my second, will, when I drive her to her father's house, you could see her visibly fidgeting, shaking, because she doesn't want to go. She was how old? 11. She was shaking and all of that stuff. You can tell that she doesn't want to go. But still, I would drop her off there. Say, it's your father's house, go and all of that stuff. But you can tell that psychologically it's doing harm to this child. I was talking to her, I think, of recent, and I said, if I had done that when you were a teenager, I would not be surprised if you had run away. She said she would run so far away, like that. So when we see instances like that, because we are also supposed to protect our children, right? So where there has been abuse and history of abuse, the healthier parents need to watch out for the children too, and ensure that actually they are safe. These children are truly safe, and we want to listen. When the children come back from their, whether it's their father's house or their mother's house, listen to what these children are saying. What was their experience? That does not mean you bad mouthing the other spouse, but listen to your children. What are they saying? What are their complaints? Did they enjoy it? Did they, what are they seeing? And with that, you might want to make further decision. You can always go back to the court and say, I have this evidence that this like this are happening. When I'm saying this, I say it with sincerity of heart, not that you're trying to cook something against, an innocent person. That's not what I'm saying. You can go back and they can make necessary adjustment as needed. So that is what I will say. If you think that it's a dangerous situation to leave your child in the custody of your spouse, allow the legal system to do its job. It is not your decision to make and say, no, you can't have access to the child.